Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Clap Louder. Clap Louder is all about bringing creatives together. I love hearing people talk about what they're passionate about, and it inspires me, and I hope it inspires you. Today we are interviewing my friend Olivia. She works with me at First Media. She's awesome. She's a social media influencer. She's our social media manager at First Media. I think you guys will really like it. All of her content will be linked down below. With that being said, Olivia, take it away. Hi, Olivia. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, a little background. If you hear crashes, that's our son back there playing. But a little background. I know Olivia from work at First Media. A lot of my guests are from First Media, but Olivia and I hit it off. And Olivia, what is your title at social media? Or social? What is your title at First Media?
My title is social media manager for Sony.
That's cool. So she's in charge of all our social media streams.
Yeah. So anything ranging from, Instagram stories to IGTV, pretty much any content creation that we utilize for Instagram, YouTube, TikTok platforms. So,
how did you get started? I mean, have you always been creative, or is it something that you kind of developed later on?
Yeah, I would say I've pretty much always been creative. Since I was young, I would say it was probably around 8 or 9, was when I would just go online and look, for videos or, scrapbook, mood boards, and just create things, from magazines or whatever. And that was kind of my way of expressing art and, my creativity. And then, from there, I received my very, very first flip camera, the one that had the USB port that you could put right into your computer.
Oh, I had one. I definitely had one. Yeah.
It was sweet. I have no idea where it is now, but I thought it was the greatest thing ever, and I had it in my pocket everywhere I went. I would take it everywhere. I would film every little thing. And just from there, I wanted to capture every moment in life. That was a big thing for me. And so those are just my memories of, being creative and starting out. And I've always just loved art, and I've loved aesthetics and scenery. And I think that's why I've always been creative, is just because I remember just at such a young age, that was something that I love to do. So I would say I've always been creative. Yeah.
That's super cool. I guess I kind of jumped the gun here because you love fashion too, right? Isn't that kind of how you got that's how you kind of developed your following and stuff, is through fashion, like a fashion blog?
Yeah. So kind of going forward, I developed a passion for fashion, and I would say
passion for fashion. Nice. That's the name of your Netflix
there
show.
It is. Thank you guys for your help. And so from there, I decided, what's a good way of kind of, displaying that. And so I started my website called Live a Little, LIV. And that was my way of showing, or creating, a blog and writing stuff about fashion, or working with brands and kind of showing people, how you can mix things up, or how you can, fall on a budget and stuff like that. Things that people could relate to, right? So that's when I decided I wanted to create kind of a portfolio on Instagram and display, those different themes and aesthetics that I loved. And that's why I think Instagram is a great way to kind of display that. And for me, it is a portfolio, and that's a great way for me to show my style and different trends, and kind of, have it in your own way as well. So that started about, I would say maybe the year I graduated college. So that was, I think, the year that I started my website.
Wow, that's cool. I think it's interesting that, you just said, using Instagram as a portfolio. I remember putting, when I was studying communications, I took some photography classes, and they had us print out our portfolios, prints. And that is just I've never done that. I mean, if you're showing anybody your work now, it's let me see your Instagram. Let me see. And so
that's what I started with too, was just having stuff on Instagram. I didn't have a website for a while.
Right.
Yeah. sending your link, because it's so easy, right? It's like everything's digital right now. And so I think just sending over your Instagram and saying, this is what I can do. This is my brand. This is my aesthetic. This is what I like. Here you go. It's so easy and people can find it, so.
Yeah. I think it's fun. And not to, I know we've moved way past this now, but I remember there was a long time when parents were like, parents I feel like are still skeptical of social media, but but to be able to be like, no, look, Instagram is like your aesthetic. I remember when I applied to First Media, I also applied to TikTok, and I did. It was kind of almost a joke because
You didn't really know.
I didn't really know or love TikTok then, and
now he's obsessed.
Now I'm obsessed.
I know.
But,
aren't we all?
Right. But when I applied, they were like, it was basically like resume was like a little part, and then it was like, what's your Twitter? What's your Instagram?
Right.
They wanted all the social media links, and I'm pretty sure that's why I didn't hear anything back, because I have a horrible Twitter, But it's just interesting. Like, jobs are now using that as your portfolio. They don't.
That's cool.
They want to see who you are on social media, which is pretty cool.
I think it's great because, we all put a lot of work into it. A lot of us do. And so I think it's great to just add that link and there you go.
Yeah.
Easy.
Not to mention, it is easy.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Well, I want to dive into some more specifics with social media, but first I want to hear a little bit more about your story. So you started fashion with Live a Little, right? And then that kind of transitioned into Instagram. And then how did you kind of get your following, and how long did it take you?
Yeah, so I'll kind of backtrack a little bit because I didn't explain it really well. But so I started at Instagram actually before my website. So it was just, a fun thing for me to express what I was doing and posting, fun photos of me and setting up my camera and taking photos myself, And so I was like, oh, this is so cool. This is so fun. And then it started turning into something a little bit more serious, where brands were reaching out to me and saying like, hey, we think, your aesthetic fits our brand really well. We'd love, for you to wear some of our clothes and show off some of our, our stuff. So from there, I was like, this is great. This is so cool. I have to try this. So I would do, free sponsorship for a while, which I thought was awesome. And then eventually a couple brands, wanted to contract me and work with me for a while. And it ended up being something that I was doing every single week and shooting every single weekend. And I really enjoyed it. And from there, I was like, where can I take this, this content and create something bigger? And that's when I started Live a Little. So it kind of started with Instagram first and working with brands and sponsorships. And then I started my website. Brands loved that I started a website because then they said, oh, that's so great. Can you talk about us on your blog? So it ended up working out really well. I would, talk about them on my blog. I would create little videos and put it on my website as well. So it all kind of, intertwined. So yeah, from there, I ended up working on bigger projects on Instagram, doing more videos, doing IGTV. So it all kind of worked out.
Dang, that's cool. So I, of course, will put all of your like your Instagram handle and all that stuff in our description as well. But what would you describe, for those who are listening, what would you describe your aesthetic, like fashion, like your fashion aesthetic?
Question. Yeah. I think I would describe my aesthetic as chic street.
Interesting. I like that. That's cool.
It's like a little bit edgy, a little bit street, not super clean, but like it's very neutral and kind of, cut edges and lines. And it's a very, very, very specific brand and aesthetic for sure. Like it's very, very clean, but it's also, it could be edgy and, different. So yeah, chic street.
That's fun. Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's fun. I talk to Portia about this all the time. First, I just want to check on my son. He's rolling around back there. You okay, bud?
Make sure he's still okay.
He likes, I don't know. He likes to lay on the ground sometimes.
Who doesn't?
He's like, I'm just chilling.
I think it's fun. Portia and I talk about this all the time. When I was younger, I would look at these Disney Channel stars and stuff and be like, I want to dress like them. But like, my mom we only shopped at one store. We shopped at Tillys.
I was a huge Tillys fan.
That was like where we went. So I like wore Dickies shorts.
Yeah.
Like this was before Tillys was. I feel like Tillys is a little bit more like boho, like kind of. It's a little bit more. It's like.
Like beachy skater.
It's like beachy skater. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's a
But
great way.
before it was like kind of a little bit more, I don't know. Anyway, I used to wear Dickie shorts and um, I don't know. It
I
just
totally
wasn't.
know what you mean.
It just wasn't like what I remember. Always trying to get close to what I wanted, but it
Right.
wasn't really what I wanted. And then as I've become an
Yeah.
adult,
Yeah.
I've become an adult, I've been able to like wait. I can like buy clothes that I actually like, and they can like fit me right.
Not
And
the only store that exists.
yeah, Tillys isn't the only place I can shop.
Or, like, wear like hand-me-downs a lot too. You know?
Yeah.
So like, not really from my sister, but like from friends or like cousins. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
swapping clothes. Oh yeah, I think we all did that for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's fun now because Portia and I talk about fashion a lot and style a lot. Just like, oh, I like this jacket or I like these, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's fun to kind of, because I don't think people, I know that for me, when you say art, I automatically think of like paint and
Right.
like, so like, but you don't think of, maybe not right off the bat, you don't think of film, you don't think of fashion, you don't think of clothing design and, you know, that kind of stuff. But those are all art forms, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's going to sound super naive of me, but.
No, not at all. I don't think a lot of people realize that. You know, a lot of people think art, they think of a paintbrush, they think of a canvas, they don't think of anything really digital.
Yeah.
And I think though that has to, you know, that has changed though, you know, over time. I think a lot of people are new to digital platforms and stuff. So I don't think a lot of people really put the word art with, you know, what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of changed over time for sure.
Well, I personally feel insecure about using the word art. So like, I love making short form content. I love making 30-second to 1 minute little short skit things. But to call it art almost feels like pretentious, you know, like, oh, I'm making art, even though deep down I know that I'm expressing myself via this medium, which is film or, you know, digital film, and that, by definition, is art. But
yeah, I mean, for me, I think art is a way to express yourself, and as long as you're doing that, then why not call it art, you know? But I totally understand what you mean. I kind of get that feeling as well when you're explaining it to people and you're like, what I'm doing is art, and they're just like, no, that's not art. But it really is what you want to call it, you know. But I think everything can be art in a sense, you know.
So I feel like there's a baby boy, we broke out a cookie.
Yes, he's a happy boy now.
Does that make you feel good? So I feel like there's a stigma around social media. And especially just speaking about art, you know, people are like, oh, you're an influencer, or oh, you want to be an influencer. And I'm like, dude, I know some influencers, and it isn't a walk in the park. You're like shooting and posting and constantly like curating this content. Anyway, I should leave that up to you. But
no, I totally you explained it really well. I totally agree. It's I have a hard time calling it influencing, like me influencing. I don't know why. I just don't consider myself an actual influencer. I just feel like I don't have that power. But I don't know what else to call it, but I guess it's influencing. But yeah, I mean, a lot of work goes into it. And for me, I didn't realize I was doing it until I was, if that makes sense. So it was always just something that I loved to do. And then I ended up, you know, getting responses back saying like, I love this. Can you talk more about this? Or can you link that sweater? You know, stuff like that. Or, you know, I have the same style as you, but how do you switch it up? So from there, that was when I realized, okay, maybe I am influencing. People have questions. They care about what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, a lot of work goes into it. It's very time consuming, especially if you have, you know, a daytime job and you want to put the time into what you're really passionate about. And you have to set that time aside. Whether that be your weekends and you really want to spend it with your, you know, with your loved ones, but you're like, I need to do this because I care about it and I want to do it and I love it. So, you know, it takes time and energy, and sometimes it's tough and you have to get up early, like we had talked about.
Yeah.
You have to put that time into it. But yeah, I mean, you have to plan things, and it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like, I don't know, I think it's funny, and maybe this is just me, the whole shame thing or feeling embarrassed thing, but like about wanting to create good content on Instagram, on TikTok, on like, and I've finally gotten to a point where I'm like, no, I'm proud of it. Like
yeah.
I want to create social media content, and it's difficult at times, but that's what I want to
Like
do.
a little bit of a fear of judgment.
Oh,
Right,
huge fear of judgment.
Yeah, or being like, does this make me look like I'm like full of myself? But it's
Totally.
like, you have followers because they like care about you, you know, like this.
Absolutely.
Like, this isn't you parading around yourself. Like you're just, I don't know, like you're helping people find products, and I think influencers are awesome. Like you guys, I don't know, and like building connections with people online is also really cool too, you know?
Yeah.
Like, do you follow influencers that you feel like you're like friends with them, but you like don't even know them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I tell Brady all the time, I was like, oh, like so-and-so, and I'll say their name. I'm like, they did this the other day. And he's like, why are you talking about them like you know them? I'm like, they're my friend, okay? But I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I also feel like there's like a once again, going back to stigmas about like, oh, I don't want it to make it look like I'm trying too hard.
Yes.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm over that. I'm trying. I'm trying very hard because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what do people want? Do they just want me to be like, oh, I'm just nonchalanting through my life, you know? It's like, no, this is something that I'm passionate about, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun. I want to try
think
hard at it.
The sooner that you realize that, you know, people are going to always judge you, they're going to say something, they're going to hate, but the sooner you realize that what they think doesn't matter, I promise you, you'll be so much happier. Yeah. Like, I remember there was a time when I was starting out social media, and I was stuck in that comparison game for so long, and it was challenging and it's hard. And you start to wonder, like, are they going to like this? Do I need to take this down? Am I trying too hard? Are they going to judge me? And it's just so not worth it. Like, you're not doing this for others. You're doing this because you love it and you care about it. And I just remember I was in that dark place for a while, and finally I started to realize, like, why am I doing this? I had to sit down and think about why I was creating. And I remember I was thinking about what they would want and how they would like this. And it is about your audience, but at the same time, it's what you love to do. And if you're going to bash what you're doing, you're not actually doing what you love, you know? You're creating stuff for others, not because you love it. So, I mean, you have to get over that. It's so hard. I'm not telling you personally to get over it, but everyone, I mean, it can be really, really challenging because there is a whole stigma around social media. It's like, people are just trying so hard. They just want to be famous. They want to be cool, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, I do want to, you know, create something on myself. I do love to act, or I do love to create. And it's like, then do it, you know?
Yeah. I feel like it's a proving ground too, because if you're not serious, then you'll find out pretty quick. Like, because you'll find out how hard it is, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm not I don't really want to put in all the work.
Yes.
That, you know, that goes into.
It's almost a half-assed, right? You're just like, well, I'm not really going to do the work, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think it's, I think going back to your point too about, like, once you can say to yourself, no, this is something that I want, then it's much easier to go, well, I don't care what other people think then, because this is something that I want. This is something that brings me joy. So I want to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel, not to mention, I feel like regardless of whether you want to be an influencer or not, to have a good social media presence, I think is really important for, I would say almost every business now needs to have a good social media presence. So to practice how to have a good social media presence is important to be successful as a business person these days. So it's like, I think that there's so much value there.
There is. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, it is important. And I think just being consistent and, you know, keeping up with it is really important.
The fact that when I graduated from high school, our jobs didn't exist.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I've thought a lot about that recently, and I'm just wowed by it. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it though. And it goes back to the point of, like, just do what you're passionate about, because a job
could happen.
could happen.
Exactly. It really can. I mean, anything can happen from what you're creating. It's bizarre. I never thought that this would be something I would be doing, but I mean, there's a new job created every single day. I mean, you just never know. Always go after what you want to do, and it's so crazy. I think about that a lot.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You said that sometimes you do photo shoots by yourself, so you take pictures by yourself. And I too have done that, self-portraits. I follow a girl on YouTube, Sorel Amore. She does, what does she call them? Advanced selfies.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, her stuff is really cool.
It's really pretty. You should check her out. But she is an influencer. And that's like her thing. Is like she trains people how to like set the camera up. She puts it on live mode so you can look at it on your iPhone, and then you can like pose and yada yada.
Yeah.
But I think also my dad says this thing that bothers me, and he's fine with it. We've joked about it before, but every time he's like, "Let's take a picture. Let's take a selfie." He goes, "We're just a couple of narcissists over here," and I'm just like, on one hand, maybe. But on the other hand, family photos are different than self-portraiture. But family photos, I'm like, we're just trying to capture a moment, a memory.
Exactly.
But for me,
it's an art form. Though.
Right. Yeah. For me, when I was doing photography in the beginning, I didn't have people to take pictures of. Yeah. Or I was too timid to ask somebody to be my model.
Right. Yes.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to take the picture then of myself.
Well, I think also too, like both of us as photographers, I think, and not everyone is comfortable with this. Not every photographer is comfortable with this, but being in front of the camera has helped me to, like, if I'm taking pictures of other people, I like know what to do. How to pose them because I've like kind of figured it out. Like I've been in their shoes. Like I don't know. I think that's.
No, yeah, that's a great way to learn. I did that when I was shooting photography for graduates. I would like go practice on my own, and because you never know how to like move in those gowns and stuff, so I put on my gown and I would practice, and it helps. It really does. You learn how to pose others for sure. Yeah,
definitely. I think posing, especially posing women is difficult. As a photographer, that's something because I'm focusing. Portia and I always shoot together whenever we're shooting because I'm always like lighting and angles and, oh, this is cool. And then I'll be like, oh, Portia, look at this shot. And I'm just like so pumped. I'm like, look at this shot. And she'll go, she's not going to like her hair. And I'm like, crap.
Or like, she's not going to like how she's posed.
She's not going to like how she's posed. She's like, look at her leg. She's not going to like how her leg is. And then Portia tweaks it a little bit, and that makes the photo even better.
Yeah, see, it's cool. As a team, you guys kind of understand different poses and what works and angles, because everyone likes their, they know their angles, but if you see it from another person's perspective, it's so important. Like, but that's so awesome that you guys can do that together, because I've always struggled with that. I'm like, I need another person's point of view, but I don't know who, so just me, and then you're just showing the person, and it's like, do they like it?
Right. Here's my favorite thing when you're on a photo shoot is, I think Charlotte, look, he's like almost in the cabinet.
Oh my god. Like we have a Tupperware.
Yeah, we have like a Tupperware cabinet that we let him dig in. His head was like all the way in.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. Hashtag quarantine.
Yeah, that's right. I always think it's funny on a photo shoot because some photographers don't like to, but I like to show the subject the back of the camera every once in a while, like, oh, look at this great shot. I feel like it gives them.
I used to like never show them, but now I'm like, no, they can see.
I feel like it gives people.
I was the same way as Portia. I never showed them until recently. I was like, okay, you can look at this.
I feel like it gives them just like, you got to pick out a great one.
Yes.
So they have to look good so that
the best one.
Confident in what you're doing.
Yeah, so you go, hey, look at this, and they go, wow,
Yeah.
But
otherwise they're like, oh.
No, but I love it when I go, here's the shot. Like, oh my gosh, they're gonna gush, and I like turn it around, and they're like, oh.
That's just very gut wrenching. Like that just kills you.
Or I immediately do this. I'll turn it around and I'll immediately look at them because they will automatically change whatever they don't like. So I've seen people stand up straighter. When they look at it, they go, oh, and they stand up straighter, and I go, oh, do you want to take it again? Or they'll go, oh, and they'll tuck their hair behind their ear. And I'll go, oh, they didn't like their hair. I'm
like kind of cringing right now because I do that. Like when I'm in shoots, I'm like, oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah. But it's good though. It's a nonverbal way of showing your photographer that you don't like what you're seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny. That's so funny. So, so what's your workflow like? So you said you mood board and stuff like that, but then, like, what does it take for you to get out on a shoot? And I mean, is it locations or, you know?
Yeah. So for me, if it's going to be something fashion, I always look at the outfit first. So if it's a little bit edgy, if it's going to be girly, if it's going to be kind of chic, clean. And then I always kind of look at what the brand would want, but if it is kind of a branded post. But if it's my own, I get to be a little bit more creative. But then from the outfit, I look at backgrounds. So I do location scouting, which takes so long. And I don't think anyone understands that bloggers and influencers have to do location scouting too. Yeah. So especially if you have a very specific look. So there will be days where I will get in my car and I will drive around, just spend the day driving around. I know it sounds crazy, but it's great to plan for future shoots. So if I don't do that, I'll go on Google Maps and I'll look at areas on Google Maps and then I'll pin it.
That's super smart.
Yeah, it's a great way to location scout if you don't want to get in the car and go. But so I always look at outfits first, and then from there, so if it's going to be kind of like a dark, edgy outfit, I'll look for a cleaner, kind of lighter background. So I'll look for kind of like a white or beige background, and then a little bit of dimension too. I don't like to have like always a very clean and just plain background. I like to have lines or kind of like an architecture background. So it really just depends on the outfit. I know that sounds crazy and so specific, but if it's going to be like a lighter kind of girly outfit, I'll look for, more of a clean kind of chic background or something with floral, stuff like that. But my brand, as you guys know, is very, very specific and is very neutral and not a lot of colors, which can be challenging, but it's something that I think I've, kind of mastered and something that I love. And so yeah, I go from, planning the outfit to location, and then angles and lighting is big. I have a really hard time shooting in light, which is
like in direct light or
indirect sunlight. Yeah. So
that's the hardest.
It is so hard, right? I think it's another thing that has to do with my editing. So a lot of my edits don't really go well with sunlight. So it's so hard for me to, if it's going to be a really sunny day and I need to shoot, to go back and edit. So I always plan kind of on weather as well, which sounds also crazy. But if it's going to be a cloudy, overcast day, I'm like, beautiful, let's go shoot.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a sunny day, I'm like, let's go look for covered areas. Let's go look for alleys, anything like that. So, I mean, it starts with, planning the outfit, location, weather, and sometimes props as well. I'll add in some props. But yeah, that's the workflow.
So in the fashion world, props as in like accessories, or props as in like, I don't know, like rose petals or
yeah,
or like food.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like ice cream cones and stuff like that.
Yeah. All of it. I think recently I wanted to do a really cool shoot with like a newspaper, but me sitting on like a newspaper stand and throwing the newspaper and catching it in midair. And so that would be considered a prop. Or if, an ice cream cone. I'm trying to think of shoots that I've done with props. I like a lot of like stools and mirrors and stuff, and playing with stuff like that out in nature.
That's cool.
But yeah, I love working with props. I think it adds a lot to the photo, and you get to be creative and do what you want. So
yeah, it's kind of like with food styling. I didn't realize, well, like with what we do, is I didn't realize, I'm like, okay, let's say you're shooting a sandwich, and it's like a sandwich, and I'm like, okay, it's perfect. And then I'm like, why does this look so bare and cold?
Yeah.
You got to add like a napkin and maybe some silverware, and you got to add some, you got to make it feel like you're there kind of thing. So.
Totally. I get that same feeling when I have to do a flat lay for a brand. You have to make it look beautiful and add to it, and it just can't be, the product on a blank piece of paper. So I totally get that challenge. It's hard, and you have to get the right angles and make it look good.
Yeah, totally. So let's talk for a second about
Wait, can I ask one question?
Oh, please, ask away.
Do you prefer doing your own content, or do you like when you do like branded stuff more?
This question. I used to love doing branded content because I I was so busy with it, and I feel like it kind of sparked my creativity more because I knew I had to get it done right. You have a deadline, so it's something that you kind of plan right on the spot. So you're like, okay, I need to get this done tomorrow, and you plan it all out. But it was stressful, and I would lay there at night and be like, what the heck am I planning? What am I doing? This is so stressful. And it would suck that creativity out of me. So the days that I didn't have anything branded, I would go shoot just for fun, and I loved it. So I think it's changed over time. At first, I loved being busy with branded and being creative, but now I like to just go out and do my own thing. Or if let's say it's an outfit I don't necessarily love, or it didn't fit me really great, but I still need to shoot it. I would hate that. I would go out and try and shoot it and make it look good, but I wouldn't love it. So I would say I really like just, shooting my own stuff now, and I'll sprinkle in some branded, but I do a lot of my own, creative stuff now. So, yeah.
We're half interviewing, half wrangling, baby wrangling. But I totally agree with you. I think it's hard. Oh, I tell my dad all the time, I'm like, oh, Dad, I just want to be my own boss. The reason I keep bringing up my dad is because he's like my business manager, kind of. I'm like, he's like my mentor. So I'm like, Dad, I just want to be my own boss. I don't like people telling me what to do, kind of thing. And my dad's like, well, you're gonna get clients, and they're still gonna tell you what to do. And I'm like,
sounds a lot like my dad, actually.
Like, oh, you're right.
Yeah, you're like, dang it, it's fine.
I mean, and even let's say you're a full-time influencer, and let's say you have brand deals and stuff like that, but even your audience is gonna quote unquote tell you what to do. I mean, you don't want to change what you're doing just because you don't want to cater. How do I say this? You want to be authentic to yourself, but you still want to please your audience as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which can be really challenging. It really can. Because then, there's a fine line between doing what you want to do and what your audience wants. And you always have to, decide if we talked about this already, so I'm not going to go again. But
I feel like that's where I've struggled. That's where I've struggled on YouTube is, I've been on YouTube for years, but only have like 800 subscribers. And
so good.
I'm really grateful for them. But it's like I've tried everything, just trying to find what like makes me feel like, oh, I like this. So we've done vlogs, and I've done gear reviews, and I've done short films and stuff. And what I love is the short film. I love like we've already talked about short form content.
Yeah, you keep going back to that.
I keep going back to that, but it's hard to produce. And YouTube is like, you got to post at least once a week. And so I've kind of drifted into, well, maybe I'll do like gear reviews and stuff like that, but that's not where my heart is, So it's really hard to motivate myself to do those, even though I know that's where all the views come from, and like where all the subscribers come from. So it's hard to sometimes listen to your audience,
Right. What are your thoughts on this new short form content going on TikTok? Do you feel like that is going to be something new and huge for what you're creating?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I friggin' love TikTok. And I feel like it's kind of, I was talking to Portia about this, and God willing, who knows what our lives will bring, but I'm kind of like, oh man, from what I've heard, YouTube is like the optimal length for YouTube videos, like 7 minutes, right? It's kind of longer now. Whereas back in the day, it used to be like 3 minutes is too long, now it's like longer videos are good.
Yeah.
And to make like a 7-minute short film is like a lot of time, a lot of work, so to be able to, Portia and I have optimized it now. We have this rig where it's like, for those of you at home, I'm sorry you're going to miss this, but here's our rig that I have mounted here so that I can just take it out anytime I want. But it's just a monitor, camera, and a microphone, and we can bring this anywhere.
Oh yeah.
And as long as we have some decent light, it's like we can make a cool kind of higher production value TikTok, or a little short film, or a little scene. So I totally feel like it fits what we love to do. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a platform that I think fits what we want.
Yeah.
So
Oh, absolutely. That's awesome. I mean, I love that little setup you guys have. It's great.
for me, it's like I already have so many barriers in my brain of like, oh, I can't go out. It's like kind of half cloudy out. But it's like, so I don't want gear to get in the way. So that's why I'm like, if I can just have this thing sitting right here, batteries are charged, everything's ready. All I have to do is literally turn it on. I'm like, it just takes away excuses.
I need to get there. I do. We talked about this. I'm letting gear get in the way. My camera's too heavy. It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. I just like, that's my excuse. I'm like, well, and I was just telling Brady too. I said, you know, I really want to start getting back into recording like travel vlogs and stuff like that. And he was like, well, what's holding you back? I'm like, my damn camera. I'm like, it's too heavy. I cannot take that everywhere with me. And he's like, well, get something smaller. So I agree with the whole blaming it on equipment thing. I do it all the time.
But I think, you know, I think the best, you have to find the equipment that fits what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that equation in my mind. I'm like, okay, I know I could spend a little bit more money and get a boxier camera and get a better picture, but that's not going to fit the run and gun of what Portia and I like to do. And I know I could probably get a little crisper audio if I have like a boom. But I'm like, well, we don't have a crew. You know, it's like,
I don't think it's gonna hold the boom.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm not doing that for you.
Shiloh's just holding the boom.
Yeah, Shiloh's in the back.
Well, yeah, you know, we're trying
Hitting us
to,
in the face with
we're
it.
trying to train him with it. He's just not going for it. Anyway, yeah, I just think to whatever you can do to make your workflow easier is.
Yeah, I feel like we've done that with a lot of things, and we like, especially with because I'm way more into blogging than you are.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that more, but I feel like we finally found, because for a while, like that was my main thing, is I was like, I hated vlogging with a big camera, because I felt like I couldn't like still be there too, because I was like trying to figure out the camera. But then for a while I was just doing stuff on my phone, but it wasn't really good quality. And then we used, we got the little like Osmo.
Yeah, it's called the Osmo Pocket.
My friend actually has that, and
we like it.
Highly recommend
for our viewers. For our viewers, you can see what Portia's holding up, but for listeners, it's probably about 5 inches tall. It's like a little gimbal. So
that is really cool.
You can hook it up to your cell phone so that you can see everything.
Yeah.
It has a little baby screen on it, but
there's like pros and cons, because it's like it doesn't zoom and stuff, but like for what we like to do, it's like perfect. So that was really fun to finally have like my vlogging cam, because we tried like a bunch of different cameras and like bought and returned and sold. It was just like a nightmare.
Yeah, it totally is. I feel like I'm researching every night, like what's the right camera for me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's so hard because you have to look at everything,
I know this sounds kind of dumb, but this is just my workflow. But it's hard for me to vlog on my phone, because in the back of my head I'm always worried about memory. I know that's so dumb, but you know how, because I don't spring for the super expensive iPhone with a ton of memory. So my worst nightmare is your iCloud is full or whatever, because I hate have
like a very big moment to capture.
Right. So I like the fact that I can have a separate memory card that's like 100 gigs or whatever. I don't need to worry about it.
Not mixed up with your stuff on your phone.
Not mixed up with the stuff on my phone. And I can just plug one thing into my computer, and then that's all the data I need to transfer, instead of like, well, I have to airdrop footage from my phone, and then I have to,
that's a good point. Yeah, doing it with the phone.
It's just another barrier.
I would like lose footage, or
anyway.
It would,
So, okay. So, I have kind of one last question for you, or one last topic. What advice would you give somebody who is trying to build their audience? Let's just say on Instagram. What would you say is like top 3 tips, or even if you want to narrow it down to like, here's the number 1 thing that you should do? Do you have any of that in mind?
Yeah. So I think number 1 would be, sit down and try to figure out what you want to create. So what is your platform for? Do you want to influence? Do you want to just show your art? Do you want to have a look and aesthetic? want to have a voice, a mood. So I think sitting down and, I remember the first time I wanted to start my platform, I sat down and I came up with a theme and what I wanted my look to be. And so, kind of just brainstorming that. And then from there, just being consistent, making sure that you have the content planned out and ready to go. I would say that, a year ago, I was able to create content every single day. So I had 2 weeks of content planned out, which really, really helped me. And it helped my audience keep up with me and see what I was up to. So being consistent, making sure that you have all that content planned out. And then I would say, creating content that your audience can relate to, because that's why they're following you, right? Is because they like what you're creating, they can relate to it, or they're getting something out of it. So, once you're creating that content, kind of analyze what your audience likes and, go from there. But, being consistent, coming up with your brand, your aesthetic, if you want one, what you want your voice to be, who you want to appeal to, and just have fun with it. I think that's a big one. I think it's definitely a lot of work, but just showing that you're having a good time and enjoying yourself. And for me, I think a really hard thing for me is to go on stories and talk and be, just be myself. I think that can be really scary because you have that fear of judgment. But like I said earlier, do not have that fear of judgment. Just do what you want to do. And I need to get back into, talking more on stories and being open with my audience, because I think for a little bit now I've been kind of scared of doing that. But I think just putting yourself out there and going for it. So, but yeah, I think those would be my top
That's
5.
Cool. So just to reiterate, you said find your brand, find what you want it to be, be consistent. And your third thing was, you said have fun right after that, but then your third thing was
relate to your audience.
Relate to your audience.
Relate to your audience. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. I love social media. I think it's awesome. I sometimes have to take breaks from it, and that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah. I did one last week.
Yeah. And I think that's healthy. I think that's part. So if you are going to make, here I am speaking from not experience. I'm just going to say, here's what I've been trying to do lately is I'm like, okay, well, if I want to make social media part of my job, well, then it's technically work. And I think there needs to be a work-life balance.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because when social media is a part of your work, you're always on social media.
So hard.
And then so that means you're always working.
Yes.
So to be able to go, okay, starting at 6 o'clock, as soon as I get off work, I'm going to set my phone over there and I'm going to play with Shiloh until he goes to bed.
Yes.
Not look at my phone,
It's tough. It really is. I have a hard time with it because, I'm on my phone, on my work phone every single day, creating content, posting content. And then I need to make sure, I'm, keeping up with my brand and I'm working on that as well. So it can be really challenging and almost suffocating because you don't feel like you have life. But I think it's important. Everyone needs a break. And even to take a break to, get that creativity back is important too, because sometimes I put my phone away and I'm like, I have an idea. Great. I'm going to write it down. And when I'm back on social media, let's go. Yeah. So I think it's important for everyone to take a break. It's totally okay. Even if it's your job, try to find the time because it can be really hard. So I can absolutely relate to. I know it's very hard.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we've loved having you. It's been really fun.
Yeah, thank you guys. I so appreciate you guys having me on. I love talking. I could go on and on talking to kids all day long. So.
Me too. I'm looking at the clock and I'm going, wow. All right. It's already been time. Well, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys are interested in getting in contact with us or being on the show, you can email us at klapppodcast@gmail.com, KLAPPPODCAST@gmail.com. That's 3 P's in the middle. We'll see you next week.